Hello and welcome to this handover video looking at the Burstner 2021 Lyseo TD Harmony Line 644, a new layout for our hire fleet this year. And in this video I'm going to take you around the components that make up the interior, the habitation side of the motorhome, and point out the important parts like where the boiler is, where access to the water tank is from inside, and also how to make up the beds. But first we'll take a look at the control panel. So taking our first look at the control panel in the Burstner, we can see here this lit up is showing and indicating that we are connected to an external main supply. If you arrive on a campsite and you plug in and this doesn't light up, it could be that there's an issue with where the supply is coming from. Maybe your point to hook up hasn't been activated as yet, or it could be that the trip switches have gone inside the motorhome, and I'll show you where those are a little bit later on in the video. Main switch here, power button just on the left, and we can see it's on by this lighting up. Top button here, press that in. That is showing the remaining voltage in the leisure battery, and this is the one to keep an eye on if you're camping wild. But if you're hooked into the mains, it will charge the batteries as it's plugged in. This bottom one showing the voltage within the vehicle battery, the starter battery. Over to the right side of the panel, this top button here, when you press it, it will show how much water is in your fresh water tank. Quite a large water tank on these Burstners, 120 litres, so you don't need to check it after every shower or toilets or every time you use the kitchen sink. It's worth keeping an eye on though. Bottom one is your wastewater, so the water that goes into the waste tank from the shower or for the kitchen sink. This will fill up in 25% increments showing on the dial here, the same as the fresh water. Just keep an eye on that as you go. It's a 90-litre tank, so it's not going to fill up after one shower. Next to here is the water pump. That's how you turn it on and also how you turn it off. You will need the water pump when you use the toilet, the shower or the kitchen sink. Some people leave it on the entire time. We recommend that you switch it off as and when you use it, just to preserve and prolong the life of the water pump itself. So that's the control panel. For the heating panel, the Truma heating system, there is a separate video for that, which you will find the links for that are sent out to you before your booking. And just while we're here, this top button that sticks out isn't actually a button, although it looks like it. That is just the temperature sensor, the thermometer for the heating system to measure the temperature inside the motor. So looking around the vehicle, we have our main power switched on, which will mean that these switches will work. These two here, this is for the outside awning light, the strip light that's underneath it. This one being for the step in and out. Just remember that when you do have the step out, when you go to drive off at the end of your booking or you're traveling to a new location, you will need to bring the step in with this switch. There is a light on the cab, the dashboard, which reminds you that the step is out. It doesn't automatically go in. And this light here is the entranceway lights. Now these two switches don't actually run off the control panel, so if you switch the control panel off, these lights will stay on until you turn them off. And then this four-way light switch here is for the different lights within the habitation area. So if I spin the camera around and start switching the lights, you can see them switching on one by one in each area. And then below this in the 644, a small cupboard here, which you can use as a shoe rack or for anything thin. And then on the 644, this nice new feature, a wine rack, a bottle rack, your drink of choice rack. Looking at the habitation door from the inside, that's the bin there, the new slimline bin, and that's your access and then to press to lock. And above that, your smoke and carbon monoxide detector. Taking a look at the TV in your hire vehicle, all of our fleet have Avtech TVs with built-in DVD players down the side. It's worth taking a couple of films on DVD just in case you can't get a TV reception wherever you're camping. All TVs are dual voltage, this one currently in the 12 volt supply, so if you are camping wild, the TV will work using the leisure battery. The main sockets that you will find around the motorhome, so in the 644 there's one on top of the fridge here and one just above there, they will only work if you're plugged into an external power supply, so into a mains unit on a campsite. On this motorhome, the remote is just underneath on a handy little shelf to turn it on. Power button. And while we wait for that to come on, if we look underneath the TV units, you can see this little handle here. Pull that down and that will release the TV so you can position it to a better viewing point for your motorhome. And you can also angle it up and down depending on where you are and what's best for you. So all the TVs are tuned in when you come to collect. However, depending on how far you go, you may need to retune them, which is easily done by going into the TV setup on the remote, down to the satellite dish and do auto search. And just to highlight again, the DVD slot just in the side of the TVs. And if you can't find the remote, you've got the buttons at the back just there. One thing to remember when you are using the TVs, when you go to move off again to a different site or to return the vehicle, make sure it clicks back in. There will be a USB in top of the TVs as well, which have all of these how-to videos in there for you while you're out and about. To get to it, just press source, go down to USB, and when you click it, there's not a USB stick in there at the minute. It will come up with a menu of all the videos available. So now looking at the fridges on board the 644, quite a large fridge space just there, and like your fridge at home, it has different power settings from 1 up until 4. I'll show you those in just a moment. But looking inside, if you're taking bottles and you have them in the door or anything in the doors, if you just use the slide, it's just to keep them secure whilst traveling. And on the 644, you get this nice large freezer compartment as well, and you can have this from 1 star, which is about -6, to 3 stars at -18, depending on what you wish to store in there. You can also switch the freezer compartment off, so it will just keep it nice and cool for anything that doesn't fit in the fridge. The control panel for this fridge, and before we start, it's fully automatic for its power source, so when you are hooked up to mains, it will use mains. And then when you're traveling, it will switch to the vehicle battery and use the engine to keep it cool. And if you do use gas, maybe you're camping wild, it will automatically switch to that when you switch your gas on. It will, if you're traveling and it's running off the vehicle battery. It won't if you stop at a services or stop en route for a quick stop. It will take about 15 minutes before it tries to find another power source, but once you turn the engine back on, it will automatically switch back. So to turn this fridge on, it's a touch panel at the top and it's quite hard to see, but if you hold down the power button just there, you will see it flash on. And then here to slide, we can adjust the settings for the fridge, and then here's the 3 stars for the freezer department. So 1 being -6 up to -18 full power, or you can switch the freezer department off with that switch just there. And then just to the right of that, we can see, let me get it back up for you, a button for night mode, which will use the quietest source that it can for a period of 12 hours, in which case the night mode will automatically switch itself off. So fully automatic, you just have to turn it on once you go and let the fridge work its magic. It will be set on for when you come for your hire booking, and it does take about 4 hours to get to temperature. So hopefully nice and cool for when you get here. So looking towards the rear of the vehicle then, on the left hand side we can see touch lights, and again on the right side there's 2 on either side, and then on the right side of the vehicle as well, this does come down for more storage, some overhead storage. Towards the back we can see where the 2 passenger seats would be if there is 4 of you. One of the seat belts already set up. To set them up or to put them away when you've finished traveling and you're set up on a campsite and you want to get rid of the belts, if you pull the cushion out, so this one on the left side, we can see there the other passenger seat belt. We can pull this out, push the cushion through, and then we've got the second belt there at the rear. And when you don't need them, you can store this back and put the cushion back, and it looks nice and tidy. One thing to remember on these as well, the passenger headrests, they're big. They will need to be put away, stored away for when you bring the top bed down, otherwise you won't get it down. And the best place for them is if we just move these cushions that make up the second bed. There is storage under here for the headrests. These cushions here being what make up the second beds, which sits on top of the table. Also at the rear here, more storage either side. This parcel shelf does also transform into a bed extension for the top bed, the mattress of which is in the shelf just up here. Taking a look at the kitchen area in the 644, when you're filling your water tank up, you can prime the system by lifting the plug, turning on the water pump on the control panel, and then lift the tap in the middle between hot and cold. And what the water pump will do is push water through the cold taps, but also fill up the hot water tank, and the boiler for which is under this seat here. If you need access to it, to do a hard boiler reset, there is a separate video, but you just need to lift the cushions, open up the wooden flap, and you've got full access just there. But when you're priming the system, once these taps stop spitting on both hot and cold, you can close the tap, let it drain, and that's your water system primed and ready to use. For the cooker, runs on gas. Once you arrive on site and you turn your gas bottles on, there is an automatic switchover, but once you've got the gas switched on, you can then use the cooker or the 3 gas hobs to use. Like your gas cooker at home, if you have one, push in, turn to the power that you want on the hob that you want, and then press the electric spark. Same for the oven underneath. You've got an oven space and you've also got a grill, and to light those as well, turn it around, press the spark button, and that will ignite them. As with gas cookers at home, sometimes it doesn't quite work. There is a lighter included in your kitchen pack, which also has cups, plates, crockery, utensils, everything you need apart from food. Moving to the bathroom facilities in the 644, and a feature that I quite like, because you've got your shower behind the driver's seat and your toilet behind the passenger, and then you've got the cab space. You can close off the cab space to the rest of the motorhome when you're hooked up by releasing that catch on there, and then sliding the door over, giving you more privacy. And then if you open the toilet door, it automatically catches on, and you've got yourself a complete bathroom. Shower, it's just there, hot and cold. Slide it over, get to the temperature you like. We get asked this all the time. The 2 plug holes in the bottom, as if you aren't parked evenly, the water will drain either way, and your shower just there. The toilet area just here, the light switch for which is just underneath there, with a main socket as well. Again, you will need to be hooked up to an external main supply for that plug to work. So your light switches, toilet roll hooks on there, feeds through, and then your toilet just here. To work out how to use the cassette, if you check out the external handover of a Burstner, you'll get that full lesson there. But when they refer to the trap, that's it here. And when you slide that, it opens into the cassette and closes. So you will need to have that open when you use the flush facilities. The flush for which is just there, an electric flush. And when this lights up, that means your toilet cassette is full and will need emptied and reset. And there will be some blue, a container of blue chemical tabs inside the cupboard for you to reset the toilet. So to make up the beds in the 644, the top one being electric, as we can see from this label here, it's reminding us to remove the passenger headrests. So I'll sit you down here while I prepare the habitation area for the beds to be made up. So if we move this table out of the way just to begin with, we're going to need these for the the bottom bunk if you are travelling with 4 people. To take the headrests out, nice and easy. You just lift up and then again put them into the storage area under the parcel shelf. We need to take these cushions down for the beds. It feels quite brutal when you pull it because they're held by Velcro, but it doesn't damage them. And then we just put these out the way for now. And these side cushions, they come off as well. And again, put these somewhere to the side just while you're making the beds up. And then to move the table down, get it central, and then just lift slightly and then push down. And then these cushions sideways will fit like so, and that's your bottom bed made up. They will only fit this way. If you try to put them the other way, they won't fit, so it's easy to do. And then we're ready to bring the top bed down. So using the switch here, we turn the key to on, and then we press down. And as you can see, we've got the bed at the right level there to use both. That mattress on the shelf there, if you bring that down and stick it onto the parcel shelf, that gives you a larger sleeping area. And then underneath, we've got the bottom bunk, and if you so wish, bring one of the cushions, stick that at the back, and that gives you a padded wall that side. And you might be thinking, that top bed's a bit high. Burstner have thought of that. And underneath here is a ladder that you can pull out and hook onto the end just there. Now what you can do with these cushions that you've taken off the side, you can store them in the space just under the table for the evening. Come the morning time when you want to put the bed back to its daytime position, take the ladder off, store it back under the floor, just there, and then with the key to on, press up. Once it starts rising a little bit, if you then just put the nets on top with the weighted bar, just keeps them nice and safely stored out the way. Take it all the way back up to the top, and then with the cushions underneath, just reverse what you did before. Take these cushions out, and then to lift the table, let me just put you back down there so you can see. Just pull the table up as far as it'll go, and it'll automatically hold just there. And then you're free to move it out the way, to put the cushions back wherever you require. Onto the windows, fly screen, blackout blind for privacy or for in the evening. And to open these windows, pull the levers so they open, and then you can push it open to different heights where it will hold. And then to close it, don't pull it down, push it all the way up and bring it back down and lock it off that way. For roof lights, this is in the closed position, ready for traveling. To open when you have arrived on site, push the button in, pull it down and set to the height that you require. You must remember to close fully before driving, and to do so, make sure the button sticks out, holding the bar securely in place. And with all roof lights, there's one above the bed as well. Black outlined and fly screen. Now, if you need to get access to these trip switches or the water tank to drain it down at the end of your stay, you will find it underneath this bench here. So to get to it, take the back cushion off, base cushion off, store it just there, and then you'll find that with the board up, there is Velcro there to hold it up. Below the bench seat here, we can see the trip switches. If you're having issues with the main supply, we can test them that way. Also, if you need to boost the TV aerial, this is where it is. And we normally have it set to maximum anyway. Here is the water tank, big water tank, 120 litres. To drain it down fully, you would open this valve here all the way, and you'll hear the water hitting the floor below. If you want to drain it down just slightly, so you have, well, they recommend 20 litres. If you want to drain it down to 20 litres, open this valve slightly and it will drain down, leaving you enough water in the tank if you need the toilet or if you want to make yourself a brew whilst en route to your destination. This access there, that's to get access to the water pump and also to clean the tank. But if you are booked with us through Go Luxury, you don't need to worry about any of that. If you wish to watch these videos back whilst you're travelling, just remember the USB in the TV, which will have copies of all of these on, but also the Burstner instruction manual will be in your vehicle, and this covers absolutely everything that you may need to know. However, any problems, just give us a call and we'll get you sorted.